Welcome to Bitcoin Live. This is once again another Q&A with Haejin Lee. I am Joe Bagonis, the content director of Bitcoin Live. We will be taking your questions for the next hour. All cryptocurrencies are welcome to be analyzed. Please submit your questions in that column to the right. I'm going to turn it over to Haejin real quick, so I'm going to drop out my camera and my mic, and here it is, Haejin Lee.
All right, everybody, happy Friday, TGIF. So I know that before the Q&A, I just wanted to give a quick supplementations to the post that I made today on the daily update for Bitcoin. So here you see, and this I had shown before on a prior analysis, a symmetrical triangle, which does not have to label as an Elliott wave A, B, C, D, E. Just because it's a triangle does not have to mean it has to conform to that. So in this case, I had labeled it as a WXY. And I said, okay, if we take the bullish bias case, then maybe we can go to 7,300 or so, whatever or 6,700. However, this symmetrical triangle did break down. We saw the volume confirmation where the volume declines to a trickle. And on the resolution of this, there's a surge in volume. So very classic symmetrical triangle. And I knew this is
Haejin, just to cut in real quick, your screen is blank.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Okay, my fault. I forgot to share the screen. So let me just back up a little bit. This symmetrical triangle by itself, without the Elliott waves, you're basically left with, well, it can go up or down because it's, symmetrical triangles and patterns represent a period of uncertainty. But when you combine that with Elliott waves, even though this is not an ABCDE conforming Elliott wave, quote unquote, triangle, you can still see that the Elliott waves, in this case on a WX, Y, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, excuse me, C of Y, can show that volume also confirms that the bias in this case, when you couple it with Elliott waves, shows you that it's more likely toward the downside. And that's what I have been giving. Over the past yesterday and maybe the day before, I had said maybe Y itself can go higher. And if it goes more than 1.618 times the length of the wave W, it could be an impulse. Didn't even get close to that. Fine. But the overall direction projection was down. Now, the mood is souring. People are panicking. People are getting mad. People are seeing whatever balance in Bitcoin that they may have dwindling. Well, I can just give my 2 cents here. I'm not a masochist. However, what I'm seeing here is very exciting. The reason is because if you look at it from a greater perspective, so here again is just a different way of looking at the symmetrical triangle drawn within a different boundary, but still same thing, W, X, Y. And I'm getting excited only because the last final impulse seems to be 1, 2, 3. When it goes vertical like this, it's pretty likely that this is a wave 3 because wave 3s move most violently and vigorously, even in cryptos, unless the 5 gets extended. So I have 1, 2, 3s in process. Maybe it's already done, but I think it's got one more lower low incrementally, 4 and 5. Target range could be maybe 56, 5,500, 5,700 or so. But again, if you look at it from this perspective, it's exciting because I believe, as I said in the morning update, there is an opportunity for an ending diagonal to be taking place. I assure you this whole correction, which started in the end of December to now, is very wary. It has been sapped quite a bit of its selling strength. And if this ending diagonal does pan out, so in other words, once I see this wave 1 finishing, we get a bounce up, then 3 and 4, notice how the overlaps between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is happening, and that is allowed in the ending diagonal. It'll be zigzag, 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 ABC, ABC, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Now the leading diagonal will have 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. But in an ending diagonal, you have 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So basically ABC, ABC, so on to the wave 5. That is why the overlaps are allowed. And the ending diagonal is very fitting, almost always happens at the wave 5 of a C in this case, or WXY, which is composed of an ABC as well. So I'm getting excited because I think we may be at a point near the 56, 5700 or so. I don't know exactly where, but we're getting very close to it. So that we either get a very sizable bounce at the very least, or we're really that much closer to the trend reversal point. This will generate a new lower low, incremental new lower low. I think the last low was 59.47 or something like that. So if we go to the 56, 5700, and this diagonal pans out, I have already drawn my ladder to buy from the highest point of this circle to the lowest point of this circle, which goes to 48.20 or so. And I've already cast my buy ladder. Okay. I believe one has already been triggered. And this is when I buy. This is the time to buy. That's why I keep asking, is this the time to be taking selling actions or buying actions? I believe from the experience I have of over 20 years of having replicated this kind of scenarios of terminal ends of corrections and bought into it while everyone's freaking out and selling, has made massive profits. So I'm doing what I preach. And I have already cast my buy ladders. One of them has already been, I believe, triggered. And if that's the case, if I am correct, and I'm not giving any guarantees because this is based on the probability principle and not the certainty principle. But I think the bottom is very close. The buy ladder cast has been made, and a big reversal, maybe in July, middle of July, maybe August. I don't know the exact timing, but based on this parameter here, it could be the end of June, maybe the early July. Remember, as time passes, I'll have to shift everything to the right because time will have elapsed. But I'm excited, and I'd like to invite you to maybe also get excited as well. So, having said that, if there are any questions, please let me know. All right, so Ethereum Classic to Ethereum or to the BTC pair. Let's see. I usually go for Bittrex. Usually they have a greater history. For the altcoins, for the Bitcoins, I usually use Bitstamp. Let's start with a clean slate. The very first thing that I do in any analysis is I don't start putting in numbers for elliott waves, but rather I start drawing. I look for patterns. I'm pretty much, I'd say 95% self-taught. And back in 97, I started using the Edwards and McGee technical analysis book, which is right here on my desk constantly, the 7th edition. And I learned how to draw and try to recognize patterns. So you may want to try the same thing or find the way that works best for you, let's say. So here, we can draw the outlines of a rounded bottom, a rounded price formation. And then usually when you get a cup and handle, you have to remember that the cup and the handle is a combination of two different patterns. The first, obviously, is the rounded formation. Second is a flag or a pennant of a type. It is not always the prettiest looking. If you ever saw those Chinese, very long spouted tea kettle, maybe it could be one of those. Once on Steam It, people were complaining, saying this handle is getting too long. It was for Steam, the price of Steam itself. It was testing everyone's patience. They were getting frustrated. They were calling my name Mud. And again, the more I see name calling, hate mail sometimes coming into my inbox, the better the indicator for me. I use it as a hate mail indicator, because then the sentiment is getting to a point where the bottom is at there or pretty very darn close. And this can test everyone's patience. And in that Steam It, I showed a picture of teacups, a whole bunch of teacups on a table. Very nice, pretty, well designed. Some were very cute. Some had very elaborate designs and flowers and what have you. But every teacup was a difference, had a difference. And I was telling them, and that pretty much got that concept across. That is never a cookie cutter or process. So in this case, the cup and handle was very uniquely shaped. Now, what's another pattern that I can see? Let's go towards here. If I draw a line across these tops, and then I do the same thing along here, let's say. So we have, again, similar to what I just showed you on Bitcoin, okay, a symmetrical triangle which lies horizontally. Pattern by itself will only tell you that this is a moment of uncertainty. Pattern by itself will tell you maybe it can go up, maybe it can go down. Now let's look at the volume confirmation. Okay. So we have at least the volume dead dropping pretty much. Okay. Again, the nicest, if you look at the decline in volume on this symmetrical triangle, it was very gradual. This was basically like a dead drop. Okay. Now, having said that, let's combine Elliott waves, because I've identified the patterns. I've got a good conceptual understanding of the patterns and what it might imply. In a situation like this here, when I add the Elliott waves, it helps to resolve that situation of a moment of uncertainty, that it can either go up or go down. And it gives me a way to kind of identify which way to lean, whether the price will go towards the upside or the downside. So if we look at this, and we label it now with Elliott waves, starting from here, call this 1, 2, again, hurry up and wait syndrome has taken place. Very clear and nice execution, 3, 4, and 5. So we had an impulse run, and any impulse run in any altcoin, 3, 4, and 5 becomes near vertical. Okay, and if I don't forget, I'll show you a very long-term count on this, let's say, to show you where the 3 and 4 and 5 on the very long term can go really vertical. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After 5 waves, Elliott wave states that there is a requisite correction. And that correction often play on time and price lateral extension for altcoins. It takes more time. So here, based on this pattern, what can we draw on the Elliott waves? Well, let's say this will conform to the A, B, C, D, and E. Okay. And I'll apologize in advance. I am the worst in keeping my degree of trends and the labels. I mean, that's my sin on Elliott waves. So if this is the case, oops. So we have A, B, C, D is going to take place. And in the A, B, C, D, E, it's all 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Let's see if I can find the subwaves. Proficiency in the Elliott wave counting has to be able to be gained to the level so that you can subwave count. If you are able to count the subwaves proficiently, you are able to qualify the higher degree of Elliott wave counting. So here we are. For the ABC subwaves of red A. Okay. Then we can also say A, B, C subwaves of red B. So 3, I'll just jump to here. A, B, C. And then you'll also get an A, B, C type. And those of you, if you don't have TradingView accounts, you might really want to look into getting it. It's very effective. Or you can even get Coinigy, which is quite good too, because it uses the TradingView platform. So if we have 5, A, B, C, D, E, then from July into maybe October or September for this, could be the time that might be required. Time required for this to complete its correction. And again, I've always been consistent in saying the best time to buy is at the terminal end of the correction. And that buying zone for me would be, all right, if this is the case, I would be soon ready to cast a buy ladder zone within this range of the rectangle. So the Ethereum to BTC would have something like this. And again, just like with Bitcoin, I'm getting very, very excited. And that excitement, let me go to the long term now, is because, let me turn off the volume to make it not as busy. Jeez. So remember, there are waves and subwaves to those waves. And that's what I call degree of trend. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 waves become subwaves to a higher degree wave 1, let's say. Okay. And after 5 subwaves, there's a requisite correction. And this triangle, if it is correct, I put the wave 2 here at the E. Someone asked me, why do I not put the 2 here? Well, this is not the end of the correction. A, B, C, D, E. The end of the correction is here, even though at a price point is higher. Okay. So here, let's look at 1, 2. Which wave came after 2? 3. And I said 3, 4, and 5 usually go vertical. So, sorry, let me just relabel this. So from here to here is 1, 2, 3. That's why this is what I'm getting excited. People are calling me crazy nowadays, but I'm not. I've been doing this since 2011 on Bitcoin, and I've seen this again and again and again and again. I saw this in last September. I saw it in the fall of last year. So 1, 2, so fall of last year, I was seeing this, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm seeing a higher degree of trend, 1, 2. Now this is the megaplex, 3. And if 3 is approximately here, 1, 1, 2, 0.618. I'm just eyeballing it for now. Okay. And if this is correct, what I think is going to happen is this time, instead of going into 2019, and look here, remember 3, 4, and 5 went vertical. I think it'll be more onto the 2018 fall, late fall stage. 4 will take a little bit more time, and then it'll be just near vertical. So with this perspective, is now the time to be taking buying or selling actions. I am buying. I am taking buying actions. I haven't bought ETC. I haven't really bought much ETC at all, but in other coins. Because why? Just about every freaking altcoin is doing about the same thing. Not exactly, not one-to-one correlation, but because of the uniformity of sentiment. And also, all coins are following the Bitcoin. Why? Bitcoin is the moon. I've always given this analogy where metaphor, where Bitcoin is the moon that moves the tides in the cryptosphere ocean. And every coin, every altcoin swims in that ocean, and they will be influenced by it. More technically, the reason why they all seem to be moving in tandem, generally, is because many who own ETC also own Bitcoin. It's very simple as that. So the mass psychology or mass sentiment of the holders of cryptocurrencies across the market is reflecting their sentiment in the action of the price for not only Bitcoin, but because of the infiltration of the ownerships, commingled ownerships of coins, which represents very similar highs, or actually high similarity index in how the price shows the reflection of that sentiment. Good. Sure, casting a bilateral. Let me go to Bitcoin. I found, again, I'm very self-taught. When I started trading, I was a mess emotionally and psychologically. I quite often found, okay, I want to buy 100 Bitcoins. And let's say I bought it right here. Okay. Right there, where the white dot is. And just to give you the storyline of what went through my mind as a young man back, was price went down. I was like, oh shit. Price went down below my buy price. Yeah, that's you. You're such a loser. I can't believe I did this again. Why couldn't I be more patient? What's wrong with me? Price went down, then recovered, and then I started feeling elated. Oh yeah, Maybe I'm not that bad. Went down again, depression sets in, comes up above my buy point. Okay, baby, keep going higher. And that was something that kept happening to me again and again and again, not only on the buy side, but also on the sell side. And I said, there must be a better way. That was a question I always ask myself. There must be a better way. and I was very determined to find that. And I read somewhere where someone would just buy little incremental buys. Okay, great. So then I started buying incremental a little bit here, went down another dollar, I'll buy a little more, went down another dollar, and I ran out of money. And the price kept going down. I'm like, oh God, there's got to be a better way. So I said, all right, everything moves according to Fibonacci. That is why even early waves are based on the ratios of Fibonacci. And if that's the case, and I said, okay, and then the chart itself is a phenotypic reflection of sentiment. Okay? Sentiment is I don't know, you can't see it, you can feel it, you can't touch it, but that sentiment of feeling is being reflected here. And I'm a big fan of Plato. Plato is well known to have said, what are words but symbols of symbols, hence twice removed from reality? So here's a feeling that you can't see, touch, smell, but you can feel it. And that is being reflected to sentiment. So sentiment is a reflection of that, price is the reflection of that sentiment. Therefore, if a price is a symbol of that sentiment, then that sentiment is a symbol of thought. So what is price but a symbol of a symbol, twice removed from thought? Now, I'm not going weird on you. I've read a lot, I've experienced a lot, I'm almost 50. I'm not saying I know it all, but I relied heavily on my life experiences to kind of arrive at my own kind of learning experiences and conclusions. And I realized, okay, if that's the case, then all of this here, past historical price, is a symbol of sentiment that I can see, that I can draw, that I can analyze, that I can pattern, I can count. And it all derives and revolves around Fibonacci ratios. So let's say I want to buy right now. I think that we are at a very terminal phase. And if this is WXYXZ, and we may go to 5,800 or so, I'm going to draw some. Here's the thing. Many people almost everyone uses angled support lines and resistance lines like this. Okay. However, I think not enough people use horizontal support and resistance lines. So I'm going to start drawing some horizontal support lines. I can draw one. Right here. Okay. So if this one line at 65.41 is a support zone that represents this cluster support. Then I draw another one right here, pretty much where the price is right now, approximately. To the bottom of that. And that's around 61.48. Now I'm going to do another one. I see a cluster right here touching this line as well, 58.16. Now notice how these three are very well spaced. They're not too far away from each other. Now here, these two lines, this cluster support zone represents 53.83. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I always put one down to the extremity. Here's a next lowest support zone. And that's 43.67. Now I went below it, now I'm going to go above it a couple. Because I don't know whether the price is going to turn right now or keep going down. I don't have a crystal ball. Do you? So I'm going to cover both bases. So here, right on top of these zones, I see another potential, and that's what, 69.03. See another one right here, 7,900. So I got now 7 rungs. So this is like a ladder. And each line represents a rung, R-U-N-G, on a ladder. Then I've got another support zone, cluster zone right here, let's say. I'm just going to cut across that. Now I have 8. Double check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So here is my buy ladder zone. I do not buy everything in a single transaction. I have used local resistance and support zones to cast my ladder rungs, place the rungs. And if I wanted to buy, let's say, 1 Bitcoin, okay, I'm sorry, let's make the math easier. 10 Bitcoins. And this is where you can have a little bit of flexibility on how you want it. Now that you've seen this, let me zoom in so you can see the rungs better. I should have used the pure horizontal line, but I didn't. But it makes no difference on this example. So let's say I cast this ladder right now. Price hit 61.17, let's say. And I have a buy order there already for, let's say, 1 Bitcoin. And on the one below that, I'm going to buy $1.5 Bitcoins. I got now 2.5 Bitcoins covered. The one below that, I'm going to keep it at 1.5 again. I got now 4 Bitcoins. And the one that's way down there, I've got half a Bitcoin. Buy order projected, planned. So I got 1, 2, 4, 4.5. At this zone, I'm going to buy half a Bitcoin. And then I got 5. At this zone, I'd buy 2. There's 7. If I'm off on my count, let me know. And on this one, I'll buy 1. And on this one, I'll buy 2. So I got a range of 10 Bitcoins laddered out in the rungs based on the local support resistance zones. Now, let's say price goes like this. I'll give you different scenarios. If I had bought everything, all 10, at this point right here, in a single transaction, and price goes like this, oh, It's below my buy point. Oh, Jesus, what do I do? Let's get going even lower. And then I'm going to panic sell. Very common for novices to do that. Here's another scenario. I bought again everything all at once. Price goes up. Oh, yeah. Feeling happy. It goes higher. Then goes down. So you panic sell here. And that's what I call a buyer's remorse. And you want to avoid that as much as possible. It was destroying me. It was destroying my net liquidity of my balances. So having this ladder structured already placed and put in, what I then do is, price is here. Oh, I bought one Bitcoin. Wiggles around. I bought half a Bitcoin. Comes back down. Keeps coming down. Am I panicking? No. And I'm thinking, ooh, I think I can get a better price. Oh, yeah, I got another 1.5 Bitcoin at a really good price. Oh, maybe I think if the next one gets triggered, I'll be really, oh, yeah, baby. Now, the average price of my purchases, price turns, goes up. What this was at a loss here is now being profitable. And as price goes up, ka-chung, next is profitable. Next one is profitable. Now I just bought 2 more Bitcoins. Price wiggles around, goes up. Another Bitcoin has been purchased. And in the event it goes like this, oh, I got half a Bitcoin more. So whatever the scenario is, however silly it might seem, however mortifying it might seem for anyone who bought it in a single transaction, 100% purchase in one buy, the pain, the psychological, emotional pain becomes far more, how should I say, it becomes a lot more insignificant when you ladder in because of the example I just gave you. But in this case, what happens is this. Price goes up, ka-chung, 1 more get bought, ka-chung, 2 more get bought. We have a trend reversal. Everything got zipped up. This buy, this buy, this buy at this, and that buy at this point was all at a loss. And if you go back to my Steemit account, the blog, for Bitcoin Cash, that's exactly what was happening. People were saying, you're nuts. Why don't you just wait until the bottom? Well, can you tell me where the bottom is? Why don't you wait for the confirmation? Well, if you wait for the confirmation, you have a very low average effect. Waiting for the confirmation is perfectly fine if that works for you. But again, this is my method. And all of this became profitable. And one guy said, hey, you missed out on this, buddy. Me, I bought everything here at one transaction. All my 10 Bitcoins were bought. I beat your ass. I made more profit than you could ever make. All the power to you if you can time it like that, because I can't reproducibly. But I can reproducibly cast my ladder with patience and discipline, because it allows me to get rid of my fear and greed index to a very low level. And the fact that even I didn't buy this, it is an inherent benefit of the laddering system. Let me tell you why. By having your cast in a range so that usually, almost always for me, not every rung gets filled, is a benefit because it almost forces me to have cash at hand. The money that was dedicated and allocated to this purchase was not filled. Therefore, that money still remains as cash. And having cash is crucial, especially during corrections. And during the bull market, when you're at profitability of 2,000% or whatever that level might be, is when you go out and go farm to raise your cash level. Having a portfolio, at least for me, of 10 to 15% in cash has saved my bacon more often than not. Yeah, some people say, yeah, but you're not investing that 10%, so you're not making any profit with it. So I might as well go 100% in. I never go 100% in for the reasons I tell you right now. Without the cash, I can tell you right now, probably 98% of everyone out there are 100% invested, or they are 100% out because of fear of panic selling. But when this is happening, and I believe the bottom is near, when everyone's screaming and yelling bloody murder, selling out of panic, out of fear, and you have 10% of your portfolio as cash, and you wade through this bloodbath and go shopping. But you've made your shopping list. You've determined your cash buy points for the coins that you want to get into. And that 10%, do I spend it all in one coin one day? Oh God, no. You have to be very incremental, very sparing. Now, this laddering technique is not something that you can get just overnight. You have to practice it. Now, I think I've given you a very good detail of my secret sauce on this. And this came out, for me, out of years of pain and suffering. And for me, this is what works to help manage theta, signal barriers of fear. Theta BTC, okay. I don't think that's on trading view. Yes, okay. So again, clean slate chart. What do I do? Do I start labeling it like crazy? No. I think it's usually the best to kind of start drawing lines across the tops and across the bottoms. Of the prices. And identify as many patterns that you can find. Now, within this, usually if you see like a big pattern, within that big pattern, you'll see all the smaller patterns that might look like this. So here's a symmetrical triangle. And what happened to this symmetrical triangle? It broke down, okay? We can maybe see a small wedge, downward wedge being formed here as well, potentially, okay? Now, this is not as common in IPOs of stocks, although I have seen those, but it's very common for the ICO of altcoins, where it starts its genesis as a correction. This whole thing is a correction. This is not a 1, 2, because 2 cannot go below. 2 cannot go below the origin of 1. So that violates an Elliott-Wave rule of impulse counting. So to me, this really looks like A is here, B, and C is somewhere down here. So theta BTC pair began its onset as began its genesis as a correction. And that is becoming very, very, very common. Usually you would see like a vertical red line, price line, that goes from like, sometimes I can't even find the top. Almost. So it'll be like A, B, C. And that's what it really boils down to, I think. So I have the pattern. Apex is somewhere here, okay? Near, let's say, 1,600 Satoshis. Now, let's say you bought it up here at the tippy top of B. And you're kind of kicking yourself for it. You held on to this whole thing. You didn't sell that loss or anything. You're not going to sell. Maybe you believe in the coin, although you've lost quite a bit in a dollar term. And from theta value to USD or BTC terms, usually the best thing at that point is, if you're that determined to stick around, is to then go long term. So if this is an ABC, and this is a C wave, and if we are on the C wave, how should this C wave count? If you look at an ABC, the C usually almost always has 5 subwaves. So let me get rid of this line, because that's not real. If we have ABC, what kind of a flat is this? This is an expanded flat. When the wave goes, when wave B goes higher than the origin of A, and then the C goes lower than the low point of the A, that's an expanded flat. So that's a 3, 3, 5. And then that way we have to see, where are the 5 waves here? Well, if we count this, let's look at this triangle again. If we count this triangle, not as an ABCDE, because this is higher than that, so it doesn't really conform, but count it as a WXYX, Z potentially, or ABWXY. I think that might fit better. So we have a smaller ABC, A, B, C, and then this C is WXY, subwaves of that C. 3, 3, 3. Now, why is that important? Remember, C has 5 subwaves. Okay. If that's the case, we need to fit 5 subwaves into this, but it doesn't always have to have 5 impulse subwaves. Now, if I count this as a WXYXZ sequence, W, X, Y, X, Z. Okay, and if that's the case, maybe the Z is somewhere over here. In fact, maybe the price will dip and rise. But I don't think much of this bottoming will probably happen until probably the end of June. So I would move this to here And this Z will be ABC, A, B, C will come down to here. I'm sorry, no. A, B, C. Like so. So then now if you go to this C of Z of C, white C of Z of red C, this C wave will have probably 5 subwaves. It has to. And you can count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lo and behold, what kind of a pattern do we have here? Probably an ending diagonal, which would be quite fitting for the 5 of C of Z of C. Now, when I see this, do I get excited as well? You bet. The reason for the excitement is because we are not at the beginning of the correction. We are not at the middle of the correction. We are at the terminal end of the correction. If I really wanted to buy theta, if I really liked it and saw this as a good opportunity to profit, because what's going to happen here? Let's go long term now. So you got the ABC correction. What happens after the correction? After the correction, you'll get a very nice impulse starting. Now, if this is the case, one should ask the question, is this the time to be taking selling actions or buying actions? It really simply boils down to that. And even if you buy it here in a ladder and price goes down to you and some of your runs go to a loss, temporary paper loss, once this impulse starts happening and you're up here, all your runs are from down here are all profitable. That's the beauty of it. And this is exactly what happened for Bitcoin Cash. It went to 1,000 plus. Oh my God. And it was during that time when it kept going down. I thought maybe the bottom was here. We might be raising, nope, false alarm. Because what can I say? I'm human. I don't know where the exact bottom is. Maybe it'll be lower than this. I don't know. But I do know that we are on the terminal end of the correction. And it's almost like a blind man trying to stick a tail on a donkey. But I think Elliott waves and the chart pattern for me pokes a small hole. Pokes a small hole in the blindfold. Because if you only use fundamental analysis, to me, using just and only fundamental analysis is like driving a car forward, but using only your rear view mirror with all the front and side windows blackened. But you still have to drive forward. I don't think you can get too far there without a crash. And what technical analysis does is, for me, in my opinion, it pokes holes through the blackened windows in front and on the sides so that I can use, if you want, fundamental analysis, which is a rear view mirror. But for me, I'd rather just take the rear view mirror and throw it out. I only try to pick through the holes that technical analysis allows me so that I can peek around the corner. And when I peek around the corner, I'm saying, by the power invested in me by technical analysis, darn it, the bottom shall be here. That is stupid. That is not my objective. My objective is to ladder in within a wide range encompassment so that when this turn does come and we go to somewhere here or much higher than that, the profitability becomes massive. If you buy it at the beginning of the correction, it's not that massive. If you buy it at the middle of the correction, no, it's not that massive. But by identifying the terminal ends of the correction, it becomes massive profits. All right, I hope you find that to be useful. I'm trying to put in all my, experiences that I can share with you. Well, I basically answered that. Okay, so if there are no more questions, look, it is. I always thought C wave can be impulse diagonal, but I've noticed you sometimes mark C wave as WXY, so either A, B, C can be double. Yes, the subwaves of C can be a WXY, It can, but you have to look at the subwaves very carefully. You have to look, if it's a WXYXZ, it's a 33333. And if it's a 33333 and they overlap, then it's probably a diagonal. But if it's a 53535 and they don't overlap, then it's a 5-wave impulse down for the C on the subwaves. If on the uptrend, if you see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you also see 53535, but they overlap, that's a diagonal as well. I'm sorry, that's a leading diagonal. So yes, absolutely. The other thing about my Elliott wave counting is you have to realize that I've tried very hard to commingle the Elliott waves with the pattern recognitions. So yes, sticklers do say, Haejin, no, sorry, you got that wrong. Because of my attempts to try and commingle the two, I'll take my bends, I'll take my exceptions at times. And I'm sure you may have already noticed that. Staff, show ICX wave 3. All right, since I had the ICX here, so you have the Y, which is composed of an A, B, C, and the C is composed of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this 3 has 1, 2, is working on 3 of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this will be the 3, 4, and 5, and the blue will be the subwaves of the 3. And this ABC on the ICX should be quite, I'd say, close to the bottom. Maybe end of June, early July. And now bear in mind, we can just get maybe a big rise and another pull. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I do know that we are on this correction of WXY on the terminal end phase. All right, everybody. Time well spent. I really enjoy doing this on a weekly basis. And I wish you all a very good weekend. And a little more patience. Long-term being greedy would come translate into, in my opinion, massive profits. Thank you all. Have a great day.